It is recording. Off you go.
Nice. Can you see this?
I can.
Okay, hang on. Sorry, my computer's a bit slow.
Oh.
Come on. Don't know. Oh, sorry, from beginning. Cool.
Here it comes. Just thinking about it.
Luckily, I haven't got any video here. So. Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so my topic is the sexualization of women in commercial music. Is it liberating, or are they being objectified? In our modern day society, the music industry controversially thrives off the sale of the female body. This can be seen in songs with very sort of sexual lyrics, music videos, sexual dance choreography, and fashion. Sex sells is a recurring phrase heard in modern life, especially in the entertainment industry. This leads us to question whether the overt sexualization of women in this field is deemed as liberating or objectifying. So I wanted to do some primary research, and the first question I asked in my primary research was what people's personal definitions of the word liberation and objectification were. So most people's definition of liberation contain the word freedom in. I'll read some examples. Free of concern, being freed of a force that has been oppressive, being able to express oneself freely in society. So that most responses were pretty much all the same. And then with objectification, however, the responses were mainly based around negative sexual connotations towards women. So, for example, somebody, usually a woman, being reduced down to their physical appearance, judging them solely as if they were an object. And that was kind of a popular response. So I found these definitions to be a fuel for the debate in hand. My survey responses indicate that objectification is used especially in the context of women being derogatorily sexually observed. So looking into other art forms, so the right of freedom of expression in democratic societies mean that individuals should be able to showcase how they feel through words and performance, and sexuality should be able to be included in this. Often the purpose of other art forms, such as music videos or dance choreography, is to give the audience a deeper narrative to the meaning behind the lyrics. So it would make sense if a song was about sex, that the music video had sexual undertones to it, or their wardrobe could be a little bit more kind of racy, for example. Levitin, in his book The World in Six Songs, says our sexuality is an inherent quality of humanity being demonstrated across all art forms such as dance and music, as I mentioned. So no wonder so much of today's contemporary music is overtly sexual. I wanted to look into the Spice Girls. They were quite controversial for their time because their managers seemed to think that only men would be interested in buying their records, but they actually proved to, with their slogan "Girl Power," attract mainly a female fan base, and actually a lot of LGBTQ fan base as well, especially for the time. That was quite revolutionary. And then I looked into WAP and the male and female role models. So you'd think that with what came from the Spice Girls, the whole debate about whether women are doing things for men or for themselves would almost be solved. But alas, even to this day, when the 2020 chart-topping song "WAP" by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion came about, it was really in the headlines for whether it was highly objectifying or liberating for women. Men in the public eye openly shared their pessimistic opinions on WAP. Russell Brand was one of them, and he came forward saying the song is not empowering at all, but actually harmful to female empowerment. Even though everyone has freedom of expression within contemporary society, it's important to note that patriarchal double standards and hypocrisy can have a limiting or negative impact on this fundamental right. So it's almost as though there is one rule for men and another rule for women. And there are very few cases of especially male celebrities calling out male artists as being bad role models. And then I used an example in my essay of 2 Chainz asking on social media whether he was seen as a positive role model, and all his responses were really, really positive. However, he is writing many sort of sexual songs and quite sexually aggressive songs. For example, "I take your girl, kidnap her and beat her to my mattress," yet that hasn't spiked very little controversy when WAP is all over headlines and stuff. So it seems a bit hypocritical there. And the music video for that specific 2 Chainz song, which is called "No Lie," which I took the quote from, is pretty similar to the music video of WAP. The only difference is that, you know, there's females in skimpily dressed outfits looking to the camera, but the only difference is there's a man in those music videos, which makes you sort of think it. So then I want to look into the sexualization of different groups. So a thing to note about WAP is how sexually liberating it is for Black women especially. Historically, in the transatlantic slave trade, Black women's bodies were used for gynecological research. So they were kind of used the means to an end. So WAP is especially empowering for Black women, and it's a way for them to feel like they're claiming their body back for themselves, not for other people, especially men. And then I also looked into a study conducted by Catherine Kersey, where researchers looked into types of sexual content in videos between 1995 and 2016. And it was found that non-white artists were the most likely to be showing expressive, ambiguous sexual behavior than white artists. And then the next level was women. So Black women are primarily the most sexualized in modern music. Then I looked into gender music consumption. In 2020, a company called Demographic Music Interest used Facebook's audience insight tool to determine who is listening to what. And I used their data to find if there were any sort of trends concerning the fan base of male and female artists. And interestingly enough, the most popular female artists were Pink and Cardi B, and they had the highest female fan base. And a thing that both of these women have in common is they're both seen as quite strong feminists. For example, Pink has always been publicly known for questioning feminine societal roles, and she is actually seen as a front woman of the feminist movement, especially as a celebrity. And then Cardi B also claims that she's a feminist, and she sort of can relate to women of all walks in life because she's an ex-stripper herself, and she sort of proves to women that it's okay to do what needs to be done to make a living. You shouldn't be shamed for using your body if it's your own choice. So yeah, despite both women coming from very different ends of the feminist spectrum, Pink and Cardi B are clearly inspiring women with their majority female fan base, which could result that women are actually finding songs like WAP, for example, empowering rather than objectifying. So then I wanted to do a quick musical analysis of WAP. I was quite interested to see whether there were any sort of sexy features of the music itself rather than just the lyrical content. So the actual score of WAP is very minimal. It stays in the key of B minor throughout and is in a simple sort of 4/4 times. There's nothing particularly exciting about the music in that respect. There is a trap rhythm playing throughout and a 3-note bass line. I feel a potential reason for like the simplicity of the music is it gives the lyrics of the song a lot of space in the track, which almost highlights the music, helps highlight the lyrical content with its how minimal it is. It almost brings the lyrics to the forefront and together creates a very sort of sexual song. And then the bass line consists of a 3-note rising chromatic motif, and rising melodies are often known for intensifying musical energy. And the song is quite intense, it makes you want to dance, and often the style of dance in popular culture is quite sort of sexual. So the melody in the music does sort of tie in with that as well. And then the main sort of sample throughout the song goes, there are some whores in this house, which obviously in itself is rather sexual. So it sort of shows that even in the actual musical notes behind the song, there is a sexual undertone. So gender variation and cultural differences in the marketing of popular instruments. I want to examine various cultural differences relating to how contemporary instruments are marketed to men and women. The marketing of contemporary instruments tends to be skewed towards a male demographic. Women are often used in advertisements to help sell the item rather than being sold the item for them. In 2007, Beyonce began touring with an all-female band called Sugar Mama, and she wanted to do this because she felt that there was little representation of female rock artists. Even though this obviously is a step in the right direction, as Beyonce is, very, very high up musical artist, there has been criticism that actually having a full female band actually adds to the sense of sexiness of her performance, which goes against what she's trying to do. Then I was quite interested in my primary research to see people's reactions to two quite similar images, one of a naked male behind a guitar and one of a naked woman behind a guitar. The responses all sort of had a similar trend again. Responses to the woman behind the guitar, who is Avril Lavigne, and it's for an album cover, were things like she looks cold, passive, defenseless, why is she naked, sad, why do her promoters feel she needs to do this? And then the responses to the male, and that was a promotional gig picture, so they're both sort of promotional images, were people seeming to be in awe of him physically. For example, the word jealous is used a lot, and mainly actually a lot of men sort of talking about how unattractive they feel and how much they wish to be him. So the results from these responses certainly allude to the idea that a woman's place in this context is sexually objectified, while a man placed in this context is perceived as sexually liberated. And then I wanted to look into the gender-based design and construction of popular instruments. So for many, the design and construction of various popular instruments are seen as quite sexual. For example, the electric guitar and the microphone. Both electric guitar and most microphones have been seen as an expression of male sexuality for decades with their kind of phallic shape. Male musicians have played on this, for example, Prince in his Super Bowl halftime performance, which involved his guitar solo performed behind a sheet and the silhouette suggesting like masturbation. To a man, these instruments might feel sexually empowering, but to a woman, on the other hand, doesn't this seem slightly sexually derogatory? Even the simple positioning of a guitar or bass strap is designed for men. For a woman, sort of, if you have breasts, it's slightly adjusting guitar strap to fit you isn't always easy. And then if you're sitting down, the boobs can kind of fly everywhere, and it's just women are worrying about that rather than worrying about the performance itself. And I found lots of articles about how women felt uncomfortable with sort of their boobs being so on display because of how the guitar pushed them up, which is something manufacturers of guitar straps and guitars aren't really thinking about. And it's also not just the physical construction of instruments that are being sexualized. Examples of the sound design of instruments can be too. Female singer-songwriter Rafael Standell Preston signed an online petition to protest the name of a guitar effects preset called the Pussy Melter, and it's all to, and the whole commentary behind this guitar effects pedal is to get the ladies and things. And I just feel, well, not just me, but lots of women feel that this shows that women are taken less seriously and viewed through a sexual lens. Finally, thanks to the revolutionary rise of the Me Too movement, small steps towards gender equality are being made. People from across the world can share on social media allegations of inappropriate sexual contact, particularly in the music industry. This movement has been especially poignant for women as it has caused a new social revolt, regaining their power and value. The results of the movement have in fact empowered women to take hold of their sexuality, and they are now in control more than ever. The social norms that state how a woman should behave are also slowly being shattered, giving women more opportunity than ever to express themselves in any way they wish, whether that be sexually or not.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Let me go back. Sorry, I'm trying to find you. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and then if you stop sharing.
Oh, cool.
Back to normal. Yeah. Okay, thanks very much. So I'll just ask a couple of questions.
Okay.
What is the answer to your question?
There isn't an answer. That's the problem.
Okay.
So even in cases where there, for example, let's take the stats of the two feminist music artists like Cardi B and Pink with their big female fan base. That's great. You know, women are clearly seeing that's empowering. However, there's so many situations where men are not, which means that the argument is never resolved because men are potentially seeing women as degrading themselves, but women are maybe seeing these women as empowering themselves. So there's never really going to be an answer.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it seems with things like if you have, say, the Me Too movement, which is sort of driving empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where am I going with that? Yeah, it seems like as you move towards more empowerment, so supposedly that would mean that more and more of what you see is actually a consequence of liberation because there is more of it.
Yes, but the fact that the Me Too movement has to exist implies that there is so much, well, the opposite of empowerment going on.
Yes. So that because that seems to be the sort of the at every stage, it's difficult for you to say, and this is empowering. And you had your polemic at the beginning in the question: is it
Yes.
liberation or objectification? And at any stage, it's actually quite hard to say it's that one or that one.
Yes, yes.
Um,
And even throughout the essay, when I tried to structure it, pro-liberation and then pro-objectification, there was always confliction in every stage. There was no way it could be an even-sided essay because there is never going to be a conclusion. Well, maybe hopefully one day there will be a conclusion, but there isn't currently.
So do you think actually? So a lot of it is. I mean, you could sort of maybe divide it into male and female. There's what people are attempting to when people create things, whether it's the artist or the the label or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That and that's one. That's the projection of the liberation or the objectification, and then there's the receivers of the music who may get it the other way around.
Yes.
And so the communication of I suppose there'll be plenty of artists who present their status as liberated or particularly maybe liberated very clearly. But it's when it's very difficult to read in anything. And it seems a lot of one of the challenges for you, and you're sort of looking at this kind of thing, is actually trying to establish the intent in the first place.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there will always be probably agents within those kind of projects that, within, say, Cardi B's camp of, producers and engineers and A&R people, they might be having this conversation as well, and some will think it's one and some will think it's the other, and the artists themselves will have an opinion, and it's probably they think it's a bit of both as well. So it's a difficult one, and I noticed with things like, say, even with Prince, as an example, I'd understood him to be a sort of quite an sexually ambiguous character anyway.
But that performance goes against any sexual ambiguity.
Yeah, that wasn't very ambiguous, was it?
So
no. So yeah, it's a really interesting thing, and very. Yes, we aren't sitting here going, well, we know the answer now, which is not necessarily the point. I suppose it's finding the mechanisms by which moving it all forward sensibly can happen.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, thanks very much. That's your presentation presented. Your first one, it followed the flow of your essay very sensibly. Yeah.
Okay, good.
And it's the sort of debate that we could leave this running for days.
Yeah, you could. It never actually has any result.
No, but just a final question then. So, regardless of all the these kind of things, do you perceive the kind of content or imagery or music that's being created is somehow getting worse or better?
I think, well, it depends on your definition of what can constitute something being worse.
Indeed.
But I feel that there is a lot. I feel liberated women will push the boundary of what some people deem to be too sexual. So some may say, twerking in very little clothes is worse, but then others may also say that's very empowering, something women should be able to do. If Prince can masturbate behind a screen, why can't women shake their bums on camera?
Yeah. Good. I like that. Good answer. Right. Well, I'll stop recording there.